Hey Forex Fortune Hunters, Tom Wilmot. Welcome back to our series of videos on the Forex trading platform, Metatrader. In this series of videos, we've done our very best to teach you how to use indicators, build templates, change them and modify them to meet your own personal style of trading, and always try to keep your risk low while trading with the trend without having to limit your profit potentials. In this video, we're going to show you how we made 2 additional enhancements to our SuperGMMA template, and then I'd like to show you that it has really performed very, very well over the last 2 or 3 weeks. We introduced this template way back in 2019 in our book, Forex Power Surge, and we've just really shown you how to use it in the video series quite recently, but it's had some excellent results. If you're interested in knowing how to use it, then hang on to your hat because we'll get started right after this. Okay, Fortune Hunters, let's begin with a quick review of our SuperGMMA template that you see here on the wall. First of all, I wanted to bring to your attention, I've got the pound and the yen here. It's a little difficult to see that in the video, but I went with the pound and the yen on a 30-minute chart because the movement has been quite extraordinary in terms of the average daily range. And the spread really is not too bad. So considering the amount of pips you're getting for your money, if you go to Market Watch, which is what we always like to do, here's where you can find your spreads over in this area. This is the current bid ask, of course, and then the spread is added over here. And if it's not on yours, what you can do is right click, and then you can click on spread, and it will, if checked, it will display for you. So that's one quick tip that we covered several years ago, but no point in not reviewing it. My point here is that the pound New Zealand is way up around 8 pips, and while that travels, 60, 80, 100 pips a day for sure, it's pretty difficult to make up 8 pips, especially when you're getting a very good amount of motion and movement from the pound yen, and we're down here still around 4 pips, about half. So even though that's not obviously the Euro USD, which is here still at 1.2 pips, remember that you're not getting the average daily range out of the euro that you would out of any of the other pairs. So really, that savings of a couple of pips doesn't really make much difference to you. So that's one thing to consider. Also, as we move forward in time, we're going to be trying to be sensitive to that as we try to estimate our risk on a trade. Okay, so let's close that out now. Now notice also what I've done here is I've added, even on the 30-minute chart, this red line, and the first thing I'd like to do is to change the color of it so it's clearer. So I'm going to right click on the chart. I'm going to bring up my indicators list, and notice here I've got two of my session times indicators. Remember when we first put this on SuperGMMA, what we did, and I'll go to edit it, and I'll bring this other tablet over from my other monitor. What I did was on our inputs, we have all 4 of the key inputs, starting out with the session marks here at London Open, the 7 o'clock, the 16:30, and then now this is set to 7 on the lower time frames. Let's make that a 9, if you will. We'll come back to this area and we'll make it 9 o'clock, which is 1 hour before the London Open. This is the Forex.com site times. And obviously, this is not 10 o'clock in the U.S. on the East Coast. This would be 3 o'clock in the morning because we're 7 hours behind the Forex.com server. So in any event, I like to use the 9 o'clock because that takes into account some of the trading that's occurring over in Frankfurt and on the continent. It's not just London that's involved. And so once again, we had this as our session times for the lower time frame. What do I mean by that? Well, we limited the display of that to the 1 and the 5 minute charts. Reason being that if you get up into the 30 or the 1 hour, it's all kind of crammed together, and it's much more difficult to just kind of keep track of things and see clearly on the chart. So now we're going to click OK, that we're going to keep that the way it was. And now notice down here in my indicators list, I've actually added another session times, and you can do that if you'd like. You can always add multiple times, okay, multiple indicators, and then change inputs and so forth. Notice on this one, what I did was I said the visualization is now for the 30-minute and the 1 hour chart, but it will not show up on the lower time frames. And in fact, what I did was I made red for this 9 o'clock hour. The 9 o'clock hour was in red. So I would have some kind of an indication when the majority of the market activity started to take place. Okay, so what we've got right now is red. Let's change that to yellow just to make it a little clearer to see, and then we'll go from there. Okay, great. Now the point I guess I'm making is here, this is our 30-minute chart, and this is what we said we would like to be able to use with our 6 and 12 crossover EMAs. Notice that we got our yellow on the chart, then we had our uplift and our cross up over, and notice we had this move to the north. And so what we've been doing here, let's open this up a bit. Let's open this up a bit. Here we were right here. So we would put our vertical line on this one, and then we would drop down to the 5 minute, and in some cases even to the 1 minute. And remember, we right click on the chart, we go to Objects List, and then we come over here. We see that our vertical line can be shown. And so there we are. And so now we should have a situation. Oops, it didn't work. Sorry about that. Let's try one more time. Now we're going to right click. We're going to go to Objects List, vertical line, show. Now it's working. I must have a new battery requirement in my mouse or something. Notice here was the situation when we had the 30-minute takeoff. Now we've got this upward thrust. We're above the multiple moving averages from the 25 or 30 up to the 50, and we are above the Ichimoku cloud. We're also above our 45-50 band on 45-55 band on the RSI, and we have this nice pullback into the bands, and then this crushing move to the north right before the 7 o'clock hour on the U.S. Opening of the markets in Forex. Then we add this move over here, which is our line that shows the opening of the New York Stock Exchange, and at that point we had a bit of a pullback into the bands before continuing. So once again, this first trade after the 9 o'clock hour often gives you the most action, especially when you're trading something like the pound and the yen, because that's very sensitive to those European markets. The pound and the yen is nothing that the States really gets too much involved in. So as a result of that, it is going to be kind of a midnight oil kind of a trade for you. Okay, we'll take a quick break and I'll come back and show you a couple of other ideas. Okay, now we'll continue quickly, and I wanted to try to help a little more. I changed the width of our vertical line for the session. So I've changed it to kind of a 3 width here to make it clearer on your chart. This yellow line indicates, as we showed you before, that this is the 9 o'clock hour on the Forex.com server. It may be different on the server you're using, but you can make that adjustment with the session times indicator. And then also over here, I just made this a dark orange so that we'd be able to differentiate the two. This is where we put our vertical line after the roll up through the 6 and the 12, and our medallion that shows a move to the north. And I just wanted to say here quickly before we get on to the next item that, you know, this was a pretty significant amount of pips. We had this kind of move, and it was good for 75 pips. And this occurred almost every day. Number one, back here the day before, we've had this move where we had a pullback and then 44 pips. Back in this area, look at this monster move down here, which is why I wanted to share with you the pound and the yen. Even though it's a 3 or 4 pip spread, this is down here 59 pips, and this was occurring pretty much every day. And it's almost like clockwork with our yellow line in place that we can see as the activity and volume of the session mounts up, that we have a really great opportunity to take a short in this particular case and make some good money. Now, on top of all of these quick changes that I made, I wanted to show you that there is another indicator. If you come up here to just regular indicators, you do not have to have any custom stuff. You come over to indicators. Notice down here there is volume. Now, the volume on the Forex market is a very funny business because there's no central exchange. It's banks exchanging money with one another all around the world. However, over time, the bigger brokers have begun to keep track at least of what volume they are seeing in their own trades, and maybe with some of the larger banks reporting as well. However, it is not the full 100% volume like you'd get with futures or with anything on the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ, for example, where things are kept track of on an ongoing basis. But nonetheless, if you come to volumes and you add that indicator, which I did, you'll see this mark down here. Now, what I did was to simply make these smaller for the time being so that you'd be able to see that we have just a little better view of things down here. Now, notice that our bar here for this particular 9 o'clock hour runs down here. Notice, and I put just 2 vertical line or horizontal lines here for the 1500 unit and the 1000 unit trades. Notice that although in the first period of time we had quite a bit of volume transacted, it settles right down in the Asian session. Typically, you're not going to get anything very big going on. So it's no wonder that when you see this explosion in volume over here, that you can see this kind of mega move starting to occur. That's really helped me to just keep track and to let me know that even though this is probably not a bad move to the north, it's on very low volume, and so you shouldn't be expecting large swings in price at that time. Okay. Likewise over here, notice on the 29th of September, a week or so ago, by the way, I'm recording this on the 6th of October, Wednesday. So late last week, mid part of the last week, nothing much going on in the Asian session. Once again, we had a giveaway trade here and a crash down, and then we had our move down. We were never able to take out the 12. This was another rejection to the downside, and even with this particular trade, we were in for 40 some pips. So that's in that European British session that we can see, and then obviously running over into the U.S. session over here. Now, obviously one of the things we want to note is that this volume intensity really does have quite an impact on price and the range of price across the trading day. It is also true that we get some pretty good volume over in the U.S. session. It's just I want you to be a little careful not to get involved too much in the Asian session with overly blown expectations. Okay, we'll come back and wrap up in just a sec. Okay, one more fine-tuning of our template here. Remember that this volume analysis is really something we want to do on the 30-minute chart. It isn't really that helpful, and it kind of clutters up the chart on the lower time frames. Of course, you can keep it if you'd like to, but let's go just as a practice exercise here to our indicators list. And notice down here is where the volumes indicator appears. So we click on that and we're going to edit it. And now what we'd like to do is to go here to our visualization. And notice that in this case, it's already checked all time frames. We don't want that. We uncheck it. Let's just go with a 30-minute or perhaps the 1-hour chart time frame. We'll click on that. We'll close our indicators. And now what we have to do, of course, is come up to templates. and we want to go, it's above where you can see, but I'm clicking on Save Template above here, just outside of your viewing area, and see now Save As. And so now what we want to come down, and I've called it SuperGMMA2 because of the revisions that I've made, and that's what we will have over in our Dropbox file for you, should you wish to take advantage of that. Once again, just check the description below this video and click on the link for the free indicators. Okay, once again, here we are into today, which is again the Wednesday, the 6th of October. Once again, no change really in the pattern here, even though it was a Wednesday, a low volume Asian session. Pullbacks, nothing really going on here. We have an upside kind of a situation. However, when we get back over here to our 9 o'clock hour, notice we have the rejection starting. We have this move here. And what we can do is to put our vertical line, which we've changed to differentiate it to this position here. And now what we'd like to do is to go over to our 5-minute chart, and we'll see if these things held. And so here we go. I'm going to back it up just a little bit. Notice that this was the 9 o'clock hour, which is red on our regular 5-minute chart. We have the opening of the London session at 10 a.m. On the Forex.com server, which is 3 a.m. Boston time, probably 8 or 9 o'clock in London, depending upon daylight savings time and so forth. Here's our line, so notice that we could wait until we got into this motion right here for a safe trade. We know that we have some opportunity for 40 pips again today, and that we have a stop loss that's probably up here towards the bands. But even when we're in the bands, unless we really begin to take things out, and then we have a double bottom and we really can't get going again to the downside until we reach our time over here, the 9:30 hour on the New York session, came down but still in chop. So once again on this particular pair, that best opening trade is right around the 9 o'clock area. It's probably the first one that you'll experience during that period of time. And now notice as we moved into the rest of the day, we actually have had a breakout to the upside. And I'd just like to note that on the New York Stock Exchange, this has been accompanied by a move higher in the Nasdaq. The QQQ ETF is moving higher, and we seem to have had some at least relief rally or a short covering rally here in the afternoon session on the 6th of October. Okay, guys, I hope that helps. Please leave your comments and questions. If you have any, contact me any way you'd like if you have a question. And please sign up, subscribe. If you'd like to hit the bell after you subscribe, then you'll get alerts to our next videos. And please, trade safe, trade with a trend, watch out for those counter trend trades. They don't ever amount to much of anything. Use this new volume indicator to help you understand when the market is really going to take off. And Godspeed. See you next time.